The Acuity report was really a further validation for us. We were pretty clear that we knew, understood, and actually solved with our own solution a significant amount of the problem. What we don't want to do is ever take for granted that there isn't a nuance or a change of behaviour or something that has introduced additional risk since our understanding formed. So that Acuity report was really important, just to get a very present pulse check in the community as to what we felt the issues were.
What were the big themes of the Acuity report?
Two themes emerged: that the risk introduced by the very heavy-handed position transfer process that exists in the ETD market is taking centre stage in a lot of the conversations around operational efficiency and the management of operational risk in the futures space. And secondly, I think, and it's kind of connected, is the complexity and cost of collateral and margin optimization off the back of that is a second theme that I think is coming through really clearly. Both of these were very clearly spelled out in the Acuity report.
What was the reaction from clients to the report?
Rather sadly, quite a lot of them were just tired. You know, we've been talking about this. My background is in futures. So at age 18, I entered the futures market and I stayed in the futures market for 30 plus years. So this is none of what we're talking about is new. And you can see the fatigue on people's faces when we continue to talk about the same problems. Now, all of them have been contributing to the FIA DMIST framework. They all believe, as do I, that the DMIST framework is a great way to bring the collaboration from all the participants in the futures markets together to allow us to try and really discuss and try and move to solving some of these problems. But we're not there yet.
What has been done since the issue flared up in 2020?
Since then, we've had a number of macro events that have created almost identical, if not greater throughput in the futures business, which, you know, have tested our ability and our resilience to overcome times of stress in the futures markets. And actually the markets and the participants, I think, have made a lot of change internally that have allowed them to be more resilient at times of kind of volatility and thus volume stress. You know, we get record highs in the futures markets every 2-3 months. So March 2020 is fading into the background as a bit of a bad dream, to be honest. The problem with bad dreams is they can repeat. And I think that's what we're trying to resolve is, if we are seeing significant numbers of months where we have record volumes, what else do we need to do to change the story? How do we get in front of this narrative and create the next chapter in the ETD narratives? I think there were lots and lots of really good ideas. I think the point of standardization, which has been very much at the heart of the DEMIST campaign, is still very much at the heart of the conversation that we have with participants. But I think where we were talking the timeliness standard, which has been super important, I think the conversation has moved on to how do we implement the timeliness standard? Because actually we all agree it, we all think it's a great idea, and firms like OSTTRA facilitate adherence to it. But how do you genuinely regulate for that implementation? Make it mandatory. And I'm not sure we are there yet. I'm not sure we have the answer to that. But I think that is the key, is people want to understand how that is going to get implemented, and if there are consequences to not adhering to the standards that we as a community are trying to evolve. And I think there is really broad collaboration that's been agreed as part of that DEMIST framework. And that has to be seen as a major step forward from where we were back in March 2020, when we had very siloed attempts to change, you know, really change or transform parts of the workflow. Now everyone has started working together, which I think is a step in the right direction.
How is OSTTRA utilizing technology to resolve post-trade issues?
OSTTRA is in a very, very fortunate position to almost be seen as the biggest post-trade provider on the street in terms of cross-asset services in this space. And they have an enviable position and are often called the owner of the network of networks, which is, we have networks of customers from the IMC community, the investment management community, as much as from the sell side. And these networks prove incredibly powerful when you're trying to effect change in one place or another. And I think when we start looking at innovation, we look at it in two different ways. We look at it as, is this an opportunity Or is there a problem that defines an absolute requirement to have new tech? Or is there a problem here that through our networks and through our existing solutions, we extend and evolve those solutions to solve a problem today with existing technology? So I think for us, we're always looking for the pragmatic route to reducing risk and creating efficiency in the workspace. Our networks allow us to have the luxury of looking in both those ways. We would always look at new tech if we felt it was the most appropriate way to go. But if we can evolve a solution from what we do today through industry pipes without asking any of our network to make a major uplift to implement something new, we think that's a better way to go. So we're always building bridges between the old solution and the new. And that's because we are in this great position of having, huge networks and cross-asset solutions for just about every problem that might be perceived in the post-trade space.
How did OSTTRA get started?
OSTTRA is only 2.5 years old. So if you look back as to what makes up OSTTRA, we came together 2.5 years ago as a spin-off from the CME post-trade businesses and the IHS Markit post-trade businesses. Those businesses had been incumbents in their own right for 2 decades. So I wouldn't be able to tell you what exactly is the first problem that they solved from an IHS Markit perspective. Certainly the first problem that we solved from a legacy Triana perspective, which is one of the CME post-trade businesses back in kind of 2000 when it was born, was we were very much involved in trying to create efficiency for the prime brokerage FX space. And we launched a messaging service, and we launched a service called TRM, which is a prime broker middle office service. And those were the first problems we looked to solve. And thankfully, we continued extending those services to the point now where we are the incumbent provider of all FX services in the prime brokerage space.